Using Twitter in the Classroom by Jennifer Levine. This is a video cast that will look at 3 activities that use Twitter effectively in the classroom. Some might argue that Twitter is only an online broadcasting tool, but I would argue that you could use it for so much more. Given the nature of Twitter and the idea that it is only a broadcasting tool, that would mean that you'd only be able to send your messages out. But with Twitter, because you can reply, you can send your messages out, which your followers will receive, but your followers can reply to your messages, and that makes it a two-way communication. It can also be used as a collaboration tool in the classroom. It can also facilitate problem-solving skills, and it also facilitates, you can be used as a tool that stores information or becomes like a resource library. It allows for feedback. It allows students who don't usually participate in the classroom experience, maybe they have a fear of raising their hand, to answer questions or ask questions, and it creates a situation where they can be included in the classroom discussion. It also can inform classroom discussion, and these 3 activities look at each, a lot of these different things are incorporated into these 3 activities. Let's look at activity number 1. Activity number 1 uses Twitter as a collaborative and a communication tool. So the collaboration comes with the classroom working together to create Twitter messages, and the communication part is how those messages are broadcasted out to parents. So this is what you're going to need. You're going to need access to a smartboard. You're going to need access to the internet, specifically Twitter. In activity 1, there's a pre-activity, and the pre-activity is that the teacher has to send out notices and information about the tweet project. So you have to tell the parents what your handle is. So mine is @jen.levine1, so I would send out a notice that we are doing a tweet project and that's my handle, and if they're going to follow the classroom, they need to follow us on that handle. And the parents get to start to follow tweets. And they follow the tweets of the teacher because in this case the students don't need individual accounts because all of the tweets will be coming from the teacher's account. And the teacher will have to hashtag whatever subject matter this is all going to follow under. So this is the activity. In the first part of the activity, the teacher models how to tweet. In the second part, students practice summarizing in the form of tweets. And they use the current lessons to inform these tweets. So the students together create one tweet. It's not one tweet per student. Each student, the student as a classroom collaborates to work on the one tweet. And this can be done during transition times in class. And as the classroom gets more and more used to it, the tweets will become quicker and quicker. And parents are encouraged to respond to these tweets. And it's actually quite fun, I'm sure, to see how excited the students get if their parents do respond. Because the tweets will be posted on probably on the running board on your smartboard so all the students can see. So here is an example of this. You are a grade 6 teacher and you've just taught a lesson on the 4 forces that affect flight. You're now going to model for your class how to tweet this information. So we are going to go to show this example. So this is my Twitter page, and I would tell my parents that what my handle is, and that we are going to, this is what we're doing. And so now I am going to show my students how to tweet. So this, I would tell them, let's go up to compose a new tweet, and this is the tweet that we're going to do today. So the hashtag I chose was LevineRoom206, and that's what I would tell parents, that this is the hashtag that this will fall under. And this is how I would tell my students what we're going to be doing. So we are doing the tweets. It's only 140 characters. It informs our parents what we're doing today. And oh my goodness, this is a tweet I've put out, but it's -14. So we can't put this out. How can we change this tweet and edit it so that we can tweet it out to the school? So how about we do, instead of today we are learning, because it doesn't have to be so formal, we can say, learning about the 4 forces that affect flight: lift, weight, drag. Oh, every little part, every little space is a character. So I think this is perfect. So so we learned that in class. Now we're going to tweet it out, and so parents can now go to hashtag LevineRoom206, and that will tell them what exactly we've learned about. So that is an example That is an example of how I would use Twitter in this case. The next activity, activity 2, is kind of like a scavenger hunt on the internet, which we then post our information onto Twitter. So this is what you're going to need: access to a smartboard, access to the internet, and specifically to Twitter. The students are encouraged to bring their own devices that will enable them to research and tweet. Each student must sign up for an individual account. Even though the activity is going to be done in pairs, they each must have access to their own account. So this looks at online resources and uses Twitter as a compilation tool. So the pre-activity is that teachers must teach what is valid information to post and how to do it. Teachers will create the hashtag that the students will Twitter under. A common hashtag might be hashtag the topic, hashtag the classroom. Students will sign up for Twitter and have their own accounts. And so this is the activity. In pairs, students will research a topic and post the information collected on Twitter. Students are then asked to critically examine others' tweets and to reply to them. And then further discussion on each of these tweets will occur in class. So I'm going to show you an example. You are a grade 9 teacher, and you are teaching your students about World War I. Specifically, you are teaching them about Canada's contributions to the war efforts overseas. You want them to collect artifacts and post the links or images that they find online in order to create an online resource library. Students are encouraged to reply to each other's tweets and artifacts, and these will also be looked at in class. All right, so I'm going to show you an example of how I would do this with my students. So basically, I would ask them to tweet out information they had found on World War I. So it could be really anything, but because we're specifically targeting things that have happened overseas, it might be interesting to see maybe some personal letters. So say I'm a student and I found a great website that shows all letters. So this is what I would tweet. Levine Room 206 WW1 is the hashtag, and all the students would know that. And it would say, found this great website that has original letters from the front. And then I would post the website. Now, they can always go to bit.ly.com, and that will shorten their websites in order to make sure that fits within the tweet. But in this case, this collection of letters will allow me to even go to that website, me as a teacher, and look at like maybe a letter and have them analyze the letter. What do you think that person was feeling? And it will just keep running a running record along the tweets under this hashtag that will have interesting artifacts like that. And then I can sort of inform the class as to where we're going in terms of the lesson. And it becomes a great resource. And then in class, we can discuss some of these fascinating things that they have found. So that is an example of activity 2 and how I would use it. Now we're going to look at activity 3. And that's the novel study question. And this is what you're going to need: access to a smartboard, access to the internet, specifically Twitter, and then students will also have to sign up for a Twitter account, and they have to have their own accounts. So this one creates an inclusive environment, allows for feedback, and informs classroom discussion. So the pre-activity is that as a group, the students are studying the same novel. And the activity is that based on what chapters are being read, students will be asked to post a thought-provoking question on Twitter. These questions will inform the class discussion the next day. And Twitter will be on the smartboard, and as the discussion is progressing, students are encouraged to tweet follow-up comments. So this is the example. You are a grade 10 language arts teacher, and you're reading the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. You've asked your students to read chapters 1 to 3 at home and post a question to Twitter to inform the conversation the next day. You show them an example by posting a question that will be asked the next day. So this is an example of how I would use it in the classroom based on what you just read. So basically, I start a tweet with the class, and I tell them that this is the hashtag, only we're going to end it with the initials of To Kill a Mockingbird. And I'd want them to think about this specific question when they go home. So what is Walter Cunningham's behavior like? What does his behavior during lunch suggest about his home life? And then I would tweet this out under this hashtag. And the expectation, their homework, is that they would each post one question that would perhaps inform the classroom discussion the next day. So they would have to be reading the questions in order to get a good idea of what they would be expected to do. And they were going to be expected to at least be able to contribute to the conversation. And while the conversation is going on in class, based on all of these tweets, they are allowed to use their devices to tweet information that they think we would find interesting rather than interrupting the flow of conversation in class. So say, so let's get rid of this question. So say they agreed with something someone said. I agree with you, Tom, but what about Scout? Does, you know, and it would just be continuous, so that and as this is going up on the smartboard, they'll see the continuous feed and they'll be able to respond to questions, and the teacher can monitor that. And I think that is a great way to sort of incorporate everybody into the conversation, even people who don't normally contribute. So that is my presentation on the 3 activities that could be used effectively in the classroom. There are so much more activities that you can use, so many more. But I want to thank you for listening to my presentation, and I could probably go on and on about how many different things you can use Twitter for in the classroom. Thanks again for listening, and here are my references.